Violence has shaped human history in ways both visible and subtle, from wars and revolutions to acts of discrimination and genocide. In The Origins of Violence, Religion, History, and Genocide, John Doukher dives into the deep currents that have fueled human aggression and brutality across centuries. This book is not merely historical, it is analytical, challenging readers to understand why societies turn to violence, how ideology can justify atrocity, and what lessons we can learn to prevent future horrors. Doukher explores the intertwined roles of religion, political power, and cultural norms in legitimizing or resisting violence. He examines how historical contexts, economic pressures, and social structures have made communities susceptible to extreme acts, including genocidal campaigns. The book also invites readers to confront uncomfortable truths, that violence is not only a product of evil actors, but often emerges from systemic conditions, collective psychology, and social dynamics. This summary will guide you through the key ideas of the origins of violence, including the historical roots of conflict, the mechanisms by which ideology fuels aggression, and the societal and moral lessons that emerge from studying such dark chapters of human history. It is a book for anyone seeking to understand the forces behind human cruelty and the pathways toward empathy, justice, and peace. If you are ready to examine history honestly and explore how understanding violence can inform a better future, subscribe to Read and Rise, support the channel, and join us as we delve into books that illuminate the darkest and most complex facets of human society. Because understanding the origins of violence is the first step toward preventing it. First core idea: historical roots of human violence. The first major idea in The Origins of Violence is that violence is deeply embedded in human history, shaped by social, political, and economic structures over centuries. Doukher argues that acts of aggression, warfare, and systemic brutality are rarely random. They emerge from historical contexts that create pressures, incentives, and justifications for harm. Doukher traces patterns across time, how empires consolidated power through conquest, how political leaders manipulated fears and prejudices, and how societal norms evolved to tolerate or even glorify violence. Religion, while often providing moral guidance, has also been interpreted or exploited to legitimize wars, discrimination, or mass killings. Ideological narratives can transform ordinary citizens into willing participants in acts they might never commit individually. For viewers, this first idea highlights a sobering truth. To understand violence today, one must look to the past. Historical structures, social hierarchies, and power dynamics lay the groundwork for the collective behaviors we see in crises and conflicts. Awareness of these roots helps us recognize patterns, question authority, and anticipate the conditions under which violence can escalate. This first idea lays the foundation for the book's next insight: how ideology, whether religious, political, or cultural, functions as a mechanism that amplifies and justifies human aggression. Second core idea: ideology, religion, and the justification of violence. Building on the historical roots of violence, Doukher emphasizes the role of ideology and religion in amplifying and justifying human aggression. Beliefs, whether religious, political, or cultural, can provide moral frameworks that legitimize actions that would otherwise be seen as immoral or unacceptable. The book explores how religious texts, doctrines, or interpretations have been used to sanction wars, persecutions, or even genocides. Similarly, political ideologies can frame certain groups as threats or others, making extreme actions appear necessary or righteous. Doukher argues that these systems of belief work psychologically, They simplify moral complexity, create in-group, out-group distinctions, and provide narratives that encourage conformity and obedience. For viewers, this idea is a critical lesson. Ideology can be a double-edged sword. While it can guide societies towards justice and cohesion, it can also manipulate populations, creating conditions where ordinary individuals commit extraordinary acts of violence. Recognizing the power of narratives and questioning moral justifications for harm is essential to understanding how human cruelty unfolds. This leads naturally to the book's third core insight: the social and psychological mechanisms that make groups susceptible to collective violence, including peer pressure, conformity, and fear. Third core idea: social and psychological mechanisms of collective violence. Building on ideology and historical context, Doukher explores the social and psychological factors that make groups susceptible to collective acts of violence. He explains that human behavior is not only shaped by beliefs, but also by group dynamics, peer pressure, and the desire to conform. Individuals often participate in acts of aggression not solely out of personal malice, but because social structures and group expectations normalize or even reward such behavior. Fear of ostracism, the influence of authority figures, and the drive for social acceptance can override personal morals. In extreme cases, this creates environments where atrocities, including genocides, can occur with chilling compliance from ordinary citizens. The book also highlights psychological phenomena such as dehumanization, where victims are portrayed as less than human, and moral disengagement, which allows individuals to bypass ethical considerations. These mechanisms, Doukher argues, are critical to understanding why groups sometimes commit acts of violence that no single person might attempt alone. For viewers, this is a stark reminder. Understanding human behavior in groups is essential to preventing violence. Awareness of conformity pressures, authority influence, and dehumanizing narratives equips societies to resist collective cruelty and promote accountability. This sets the stage for the fourth core idea: the historical case studies of genocides and mass violence that illustrate these mechanisms in action. Fourth core idea: historical case studies of genocide and organized violence. Doukher illustrates his analysis with historical case studies, showing how ideology, social dynamics, and historical context converge to produce large-scale violence and even genocide. From ancient wars to modern atrocities, these examples reveal the recurring patterns that make such horrors possible. He examines how political leaders and religious authorities have mobilized populations, often framing certain groups as threats, enemies, or morally inferior. Economic pressures, social hierarchies, and historical grievances further intensify tensions. When combined with psychological mechanisms like conformity, dehumanization, and obedience to authority, societies can reach tipping points where violence escalates to systemic and organized levels. For viewers, these case studies are not just historical curiosities, they are lessons. By analyzing the conditions and warning signs, we can better understand how to prevent similar tragedies in the present and future. The book emphasizes that knowledge of history and human behavior is a crucial defense against repeating cycles of violence. This understanding leads naturally to the final insight of the book: the moral and societal lessons we can draw to promote peace, justice, and awareness in contemporary society. Conclusion: The Origins of Violence, Religion, History, and Genocide by John Doukher is a profound exploration of one of humanity's most troubling traits. Doukher demonstrates that violence is rarely random or isolated. It emerges from complex interactions between historical context, ideology, social dynamics, and psychological mechanisms. Understanding these factors is crucial if societies hope to prevent atrocities and cultivate peace. The book underscores several key lessons. Ideology and belief systems can be double-edged, shaping both moral guidance and justification for harm. Social pressures and authority influence collective behavior in ways that individuals alone might never undertake. And history provides a roadmap to recognize patterns and prevent repetition. Knowledge, awareness, and reflection are essential to breaking cycles of violence. For viewers, the takeaway is clear. By studying history, questioning narratives, and understanding human psychology, we equip ourselves and our societies to resist cruelty, foster empathy, and create systems that prioritize justice over aggression. Violence may be part of human history, but informed, vigilant citizens can shape a more peaceful future. If you are intrigued by the forces that shape human behavior and want to explore how knowledge of the past can guide ethical action today, subscribe to Read and Rise, support the channel, and join us as we analyze books that uncover the complexities of society, history, and human nature. Because understanding the roots of violence is the first step toward building a more just and compassionate world.